there's something that you can be really familiar with, such that it can take you into a situation and you can be confident in that situation. And there is one thing you can be familiar with in every situation, because it's the one thing you take into every situation. Yourself. Yourself. Do you have a track record of a bunch of successes in your life, even small ones, that you can point to and go, you know what, I was successful in all of these other situations, and because I was successful there, it leads me to believe I can be successful here. If so, then it would make sense. Like I oftentimes say that when I lack an ability, I have more than make up for in confidence. Yeah, this guy just robbed my store. Cops came down, they pulled the surveillance camera, and they go, oh yeah, we know who that guy is. Because he's like a local criminal. He's not a good criminal, he gets caught all the time. And so they go down to the guy's apartment and they arrest him. And apparently as they're arresting him, the news actually captured the arrest on video. And he was being led away and he said, I don't understand. I put the lemon juice on my face. And I think it was lemon juice, but that's the part I'm not sure about. Everything else I'm sure about, but I can't remember what it was. But in short, someone told him, if you pour lemon juice on your face, the cameras can't see your face. And yeah.
He poured lemon juice on his face because that was the main ingredient in invisible ink.
There you go. So it's the main. So someone told him that because it was the main ingredient in invisible ink, that the cameras couldn't see him. Now, as we sit there and we're like, oh my God, how dumb. Careful first, because think about some of the incredibly stupid things that we believe, or things that we're told that we think, oh, it must be true, just because so many people say it. I'm going to offend some people here, but I'm going to say it anyway. People will say, well, you can tell what sex a baby is going to be depending on whether the mom's carrying high or low or in the middle or something like that. And I have people who just swear up and down, no, my mom knows when a woman's pregnant if it's going to be a boy or a girl just because of where the baby is sitting. You know, there's no physiological link between where a baby sits inside of a woman and what sex the baby turns out to be. None. And yet we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then there are other ones like, don't go walking around out in the rain. Why not? You can get sick.
But you can also not get sick.
Think about it for a second. Just think about it. Does that make any sense? Water gets you sick. So every time you take a shower, you run the risk of getting a cold. Well, no, because the water's cold. Go take a cold shower. See what happens. Nothing. There's no link between it. Well, then how come so many people get sick during winter or during rainy seasons? There is a reason that people get sick during the rainy seasons.
But it's not because of the rain.
It's not because of the rain. When it's warm, where do people hang out? Outside, where there's lots of ventilation, there's breeze, and the chances of giving people a cold or something like that, extremely low. But when it's cold out, everybody's huddled inside in large masses, large groups. So if one person gets a cold, everybody gets a cold. That's why. But we'll believe that, like, well, no, but my mom told me. Yeah, I know. You gotta wear socks indoors, otherwise you can get sick. How does that stop you? I had a friend, and I'm sure some of you know people like this, and maybe some of you are this person. I had a friend whose mom used to swear up and down. She used to make my friend put Vicks on her feet when she was sick, because the Vicks was supposed to help you get over a cold. It doesn't do anything like that. That's not the way that stuff works. But you'll find, I know people who put like that plastic cover over their license plate because they believe that a plastic cover will stop a traffic camera from being able to see your license plate. And so they'll be able to see people think that if they put the plastic covering over the plate, you won't be able to see their license plate. And then they'll get the ticket and they'll be like, but I don't understand. I put the lemon juice on my face. And I put the plastic covering over the license plate. So the police, they go and they arrest this guy, and he's swearing up and down. He has no idea why they were able to see him. So it got this researcher Dunning and his friend Kruger. They were thinking about this. Well, haven't you ever noticed that like the dumbest people, or at least maybe not even the dumbest, but certainly the most ignorant people are the ones who are like the most certain of themselves? And so they did some research, and what they found out is that there's a link People who rate themselves as being the most competent, so the best, when you actually measure their competence, when you measure their performance, they actually score the worst. They score the lowest. There's this massive gap between what they think they are and what they actually are. Now, if you understand what I say when I say this, if you understand what I mean when I say this, simply understanding this it keeps me sane as a teacher, for sure. Because then you understand, well, you don't take things personally. You understand why don't people put in work? Well, they don't know what they don't know. And that's what it amounts to. And then, by the way, people who actually rank the highest in their competence typically rate themselves about in the middle or so. Why? Because if you know that if you understand that there's this gap between what you know and the amount of knowledge that there is, it constantly keeps you studying. It constantly keeps you learning. It constantly keeps you practicing. If you walk out onto the baseball field and you say, "I'm the best one out here," you might be right now, but the other guy is like thinking, "I need to work harder. I need to work harder. I need to catch up." And even if that person is the best, they still don't see themselves that way, because they understand that there's something else that they can gain. Also, people who are the most competent tend to compare themselves to the most competent. LeBron James, who do you suppose he compares himself to? Do you think he compares himself to, I don't know, some backup player for the Nuggets or something like that? Or do you suppose he compares himself to Michael Jordan, to Magic Johnson, to the best who have ever lived? You ask him, are you good enough? I'm not yet at the Magic Johnson level. I'm not yet at the Michael Jordan level. Oh, but you're better than everybody else around you. And you hear that kind of thing all the time. Well, I'm the smartest one in the class. Yeah, the class. But my goodness, think about who do you want to compete against? The people in your class or the people in the world? And if you recognize that there are people in the world who are up here, and those are the jobs you want, those are the opportunities that you want. Or do you settle in and say, good enough? Which, by the way, is in fact what most people do. And there's nothing wrong with that. This isn't a statement about how you should always push and always be better. No, not necessarily. But it is a measurement of this. If you really believe you are the best at something, if you believe you're the best at something, there's a really good chance that you're not. Now, where do you start to see this play out? Why am I doing badly in school? Oh, because the teachers don't like me, that's all. I'm actually really smart. Like I hear stuff all the time, like people who end up in the learning center, and they'll say, oh, no, my friend's in the learning center. But no, they're really smart though. You don't end up in the learning center because you won a scholarship contest, right? You end up there because you're not as smart as you think that you are. I don't need this stuff. Yeah, what's funny is we used to track the people who went to the learning center and then the people who graduated regularly and to see their life outcomes over the next 10 years. We used to track that anymore. We used to track that. We don't track that anymore because the results were so damn depressing for the people who went to the learning center. These are people who reported their life enjoyment, self-reporting their own happiness levels as being incredibly low. So we stopped tracking it. Why? Because it makes us feel bad that we send people over there now. Because if we send people over there, we know we're sending them over there to get a crappy education, to be taught poor lessons that you can fail miserably and only have to participate in school 2 hours a day. And then we're completely shocked that they don't get a real education. They just fill out paperwork. And then, because if we had to actually confront that fact, we'd stop doing it. Because we'd say, no, sending you over there to catch up on credits is worse for you. It's bad for your life. Instead, we just go, let's stop tracking it. That makes the problem go away, like most things in life. Just ignore the problem. Maybe it'll just go away. Of course, it doesn't. It just compounds and compounds and compounds. So the people who think they're the most competent, those are also the people who are at work. Man, my boss is so stupid. Well, how come you can't get a promotion? They're just jealous. My boss is stupid. He's jealous. I'm a better worker than him. I don't know why they even put him in charge. Oh my God, the owner of the company is so stupid. Then how come you work for him? Because he's just corrupt. Well, how come that manager got promoted? How come that person you work with got promoted before you? They're just a kiss ass. In other words, they don't make this up. They don't make up the difference of this by looking inside themselves and recognizing, wow, because maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. The only way they can actually do it is to say, there must be some other ulterior motive. And that means that, therefore, the world is corrupt. And if that means that, oh, that guy got ahead because he's a kiss ass, then it's okay for me to steal from the company. It's okay for me to waste time. It's okay for me to be late and sneak in. It's okay for me to do all these things because it's not, they're just a bad company. And yet everywhere they go, they run into a bad company. Is it really that every company is bad? Is that every job is bad? Is that if you have a bunch of teachers who don't like you, do you see the consistent variable in all of those equations? Yeah. They're jealous of me everywhere I go. And if you ever actually sit there and have to look at yourself and be like, why? Like, why would people be jealous of you? Like, you're that talented. You really think, that's why I was asking earlier, I was asking you, Adrian, why would you be so supremely confident in yourself? Because unless you have reasons to be supremely confident in yourself, you either you either aren't supremely confident, or, which you shouldn't be, or you just don't know. In other words, it's just an arrogance. You have no reason for it. If I ask you, Danny, when you mentioned earlier, so when I was talking to you earlier and I was asking you, is there something that you can be really familiar with such that it can take you into a situation and you can be confident in that situation? And there is one thing you can be familiar with in every situation, because it's the one thing you take into every situation. Yourself. Do you have a track record of a bunch of successes in your life, even small ones, that you can point to and go, you know what, I was successful in all of these other situations, and because I was successful there, it leads me to believe I can be successful here. If so, then it would make sense. Like I oftentimes say that when I lack in ability, I more than make up for in confidence. If you're confident in situations, I don't mean arrogant, I mean have to believe in yourself with good reason to, not just blindly, but to have good reason to, then the stuff that you can accomplish is going to be incredible because you'll walk into a situation. Like, why do most people fail in things? Because they walk in with no confidence, and they shouldn't. They put their heads down in class. Like, why would you possibly have it up? You don't have the brain power to actually keep up with what's going on. Well, so what do you say to yourself? I don't have the brain power. No. You know what? It's just boring. Oh, okay. That's what makes up for that gap. It's just boring. That's all it is. It's not because I simply don't understand. No, I could understand. I could be really good. Prove it. Show me somewhere where you've been good before. I don't have to. Yeah. And you can't either. So maybe both of those two things are true, by the way. You don't have to and you can't. And why would you be confident? So when I asked that question earlier, how do you gain confidence? Because whether you're confident or not will have just dramatic outputs on your life, man. People who are confident, meaning with reason, not just arrogant, but actually have a reason for it, their life outcomes just incredibly surpass people who lack confidence. It isn't to be the most confident, it's to be the most competent. Because the most confident, of course, as we said, there's a correlation that they're usually the least competent. So how do you gain confidence? Set small goals for yourself, little ones, every day when you wake up. Make your bed. But I don't want to. It doesn't matter if you want to. It's about, can you do things that you don't want to do because they're the right things to do? Because all the things that you want to do in life, how many of us want to drink water and eat vegetables? Probably very few of us. But, diet, how many of us want to be in good shape? Most of us want to be in good shape, but we just don't want to diet and exercise. But there are so many things in life that are the diet and exercise of your success. A big part of it is discipline, doing the things that you don't want to do so that you can get the things that you want to do. And it's the ability to see what those things are. If there's a thing that you don't want to do, practice it. Why? Because it trains you to be able to do the other things that you don't want to do. And it's not that you spend your whole life doing the things you don't want to do. It's that you spend little increments of your life doing things you don't want to do so that you can get the bigger things later. That's all it is. And it's not a matter of like, you should because it pisses people off around you if you don't. Who cares? It's that it's good for you to do. And if you want the best thing for you, then of course you're going to do those things. But that's part of the problem. Most of us don't love ourselves enough. Because if we loved ourselves enough, we would do the things that are beneficial for us. And it isn't like there's some kind of like a grand mystery, like we have no idea what the good things for us are. Most of us do know what they are. But doing it, that's the hard part. And why is it the hard part? Because we don't love ourselves enough. Think about like you have friends who have birthdays and how far out of your way you'll go to make them feel great on their birthday. Or how far, for some of your friends, how far you'll go to make sure that they know that they're cared about or how special they are. But we oftentimes won't take the time to do that for ourselves because we don't love ourselves enough. And some people, of course, love themselves too much or particularly in the wrong ways. But as a general rule, I think you're going to find this. And so fill up those gaps. Treat yourself like somebody who matters because you do. Stop degrading yourself, which a lot of people do constantly every day with how we treat ourselves. And just maybe you'll get like a little taste of what you could achieve, of what you could become. And hopefully that will propel you to believe that you could become something even greater than what you can imagine. You know? But you have to have a small step in that direction, just like a small step towards confidence. Set small goals for yourself. If you have trouble waking up, when your alarm goes off, you always hit the snooze. Set a goal for yourself. This week, I'm gonna get up at the first time it rings. Boom, get up. Oh, but I'm tired. Of course you are. If you weren't, it wouldn't take discipline. And just small little things like that, and you realize what you can do. So then you aren't gonna have to hope so much. You can actually do. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy-ish Wednesday.